It's an early summer, but the autumn leaves are out. What's next? It's New Year's Eve and spring leak is about? It's 19th of January, but there's still a summer drought. It's the 31st of April. Go carve a pumpkin with a snout. What's poppin', Dingle Nation? It's your lovely host Dingleton, here with another installment of Japanese Jazz January. Before we get into it, I want to apologize for something. For as long as this channel has existed, I've talked about obscure jazz junk like Flying Beagle and Cassiopeia. Stuff that no one really wants to hear. To make up for it, today I'm gonna talk about an album that's already been on this channel before. An album that's actually popular and the average young person wants to listen to. A very red album, if you know what I'm saying. Of course, I'm talking about a whole lot of scenery. Today we're talking about Scenery by Ryo Fukui. I'm gonna be honest, this isn't an album that I intentionally tried to seek out and listen to. I just randomly got a song off this album through YouTube Autoplay around 2 years ago, and I listened to that song to death. I specifically remember doing most of my senior year physics homework to it. The physics were far from fun, and I barely got through the class. But just thinking about this song makes me look back on those times quite fondly. After rigorously listening to that song, it took me a while to check out the whole album, but when I did, hoo boy. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll say this now to avoid repeating myself for every single song on this album, but the album consists entirely of Fukui's piano, a backing double bass, and the jazz brush heavy drums. And that's it. This tracklist is also really short, consisting only of 6 songs in total. But the album sports an average runtime, as most of these songs are pushing 7 minutes, if not more. The first song, It Could Happen to You, opens up with a classical sounding piano solo, inviting the listener closer, but still warning them that this could happen to them. After the listener has been properly warned, the mood of the track shifts to a more cheery one as the jazzy drum brushes start pattering away and a double bass starts getting plucked. During the 4-minute runtime of this song, we get a few nice jazzy verses, which sound so unpredictable, as if they're completely improvised on the spot. I haven't seen La La Land, but I bet this is what they're dancing to in that movie. I also really like the comforting refrain on this track, which gets especially amplified during the last leg of the song. The next track, I Wanna Talk About You, dials the energy back with these soft, slow piano tones. With the love confessions, you don't really want to rush through things. You want to slowly go through everything you have to say. In the same sense, this track takes its time, as the intro itself is longer than some entire songs. When it does get going, it's a masterfully played track, with the piano sounding so alive and organic, as if the piano itself needs to get this melody off its chest. Even though this is a softer, less intense track than the previous one, the chorus still pulls through with more emphasized hi-hats and a really moving piano performance by Fukui. The third track, Early Summer, stands out as the longest track by far, clocking in at almost 11 minutes long. With such a long runtime, one could expect this song to be a total snooze fest, which the intro leads you into believing with its gentle, softer piano solo. But then Fukui, in an intriguing moment, starts playing some lower pitched chords, completely transforming the entire track. That first chord has gotta be one of my favorite moments on this entire album, and it really evokes the GTA 3 theme in my mind. We also get some great faster drums, not only with consistent hi-hats, but also some good snares. A third through, the song evolves once again, seemingly out of nowhere turning into a race to see who can play quicker, the galloping drums or the fast cycles of Fukui dancing up and down the piano. It feels like the type of song to appear in an overly elaborate action scene in a 1960s French comedy. A second third through, the song undergoes metamorphosis again, as the piano and bass completely vanish and instead a marching band-like drum fills the gap, as if rallying troops. This goes on for a shocking while. And it's really impressive to me that Fukui let the piano take a backseat for a whole 2 minutes on this piano jazz album. After the drum solo, we're back to the race, with the drums and piano being neck and neck again. The final stretch doesn't take very long, but maybe since this is the 10th minute of non-stop action, both of them start to gradually lose in volume and tempo until they slowly fade out. The B-side starts with Willow Weep for me, A track that doesn't demand as much attention as the previous, which is appreciated if you think about runtime, as the two previous tracks are longer than some great EPs. Of course, this track still deserves your attention, as the melody feels classy and it takes a few twists here and there, and the drums feel pretty impactful too. But still, this is more of a relaxed track that you can have in the background, something that would play at a jazz bar. I know, cause I've been to one, cause I'm a refined guy. The next track, Autumn Leaves, is a much more dramatic cut than the previous one. This track is mainly moody and sad piano melodies, occasionally broken up by a fun break where the note goes up and down really quick. I'm pretty sure that this track has the first bass solo on this entire album, and it's pretty neat that it gets some attention on this piano jazz record. Back to the piano, it's undoubtedly well played, but it's just not doing much for me, making for the least memorable cut on this record. I'd love to say that this album ends on a fun note to make up for the last track, but I'd be lying. The title track, Scenery, is the most somber one by a long shot. It opens with a touching minor scale performance, as really soft drum brushes patter away, and the bass makes you feel like things are jover. This doesn't really change much during the 5-minute long runtime, ending the record off on a sad note. I really struggled writing this Dingleview, as there are neither lyrics nor instrumental variety to discuss on this album. So I may have undersold things, but I enjoyed this album. While it was hard to write about, I was really impressed with how much Fukui could do with just 3 instruments. For my taste, the B-side of this album gets a little bit too moody, but the sheer amount of emotion conveyed through these elaborate piano solos make up for it. Overall, this is a more consistent package than Cassiopeia, but for my money, it doesn't quite beat out Flying Beagle. If you enjoyed this Dingleview, you should totally subscribe to the channel, and if you didn't, you're not getting your valuable time back. You're 10 minutes closer to death now. Bye!